everybody, welcome back. So this is my review on Megan's With Love Megan Part 2. And I'm going to start off very honestly. I've quit. I have quit. I am out. I could not get past 12 minutes and 25 seconds of the fourth episode, and it's a miracle I made it that far. I started watching at 9 o'clock this morning and I only finished it about 10 minutes ago, as far as I got, because I had to keep taking breaks. At one point I wanted to rip out my own eyeballs and stuff them in my ears. Sorry for the visual, but I just wanted the whole visual sensory thing. I just wanted everything to stop. Now, I didn't have high hopes because obviously part 2 was filmed at the same time. So I would have presumed, like a lot of people did, that what Netflix would have done is the bits that they didn't feel were great for season 1, they would have, cutting room floor basically. They've got some leftover bits and they decided to run with part 2. Part 2 I do believe is worse, but what I did notice when I logged onto my Netflix account this morning, I had to look for With Love Megan. It wasn't being advertised. You see here, it's the Gilmore Girls. Despite the fact that Netflix knows I've watched season 1, it wasn't in the things to watch next. No. I actually physically had to go in and search for it. And I posted about this on X, and I've had people say South Africa, America, New Zealand, exactly the same. Netflix are not promoting it. There has been no promotion for it. Megan has not been promoting it. And strangely, Megan has decided to do another interview and it's launched on the same day this show aired, and it makes you think she's trying to distract. Netflix, you think, would be furious with her for doing that. But no, it seems that nobody in either Megan's camp or even Netflix, Archwell Productions, nobody cares about promoting this show. And that's because they know how terrible it is. I spent ages writing out notes because I was trying to do it like I did the first season, and guys, I'm sorry, I failed you. It's just not worth it. It really is bad. And it's just a repeat as well of what she's done in season 1. So it starts off with Megan telling people that she's got a guest coming on, and then she makes a little gift for that guest. And then she does another segment, and then the guest comes on, and then we have another segment of Megan. And then it goes back to the guest. And, that's the kind of, I guess, the blueprint for each episode. And at the end, she does that really annoying thing that she did on her podcast, which irritates the shit out of me. And this is where she goes over everything. And the episodes are 33 minutes long. Megan, nobody needs a recap. Nobody needs a recap of what you've just painfully gone through. And it reminds me the ending of Sesame Street. Today, guys, we learned the letter B for boring. So incredibly boring. Oh, honestly, it was painful. Now, the first episode, I am going to go over the first 3 episodes with you because I spent ages doing it, otherwise my time was completely wasted. So I am going to talk about some things that came up. Episode 1 was the best episode. I would give this 6 out of 10 because there were 3 other people. One of those people really doesn't like me, and that's Daniel Martin, the crime makeup artist. He made his appearance again. I actually thought Chrissy Teigen was in the first episode, but no, she was in episode 2. Maybe they tried to move Chrissy Teigen along a slot because there was a lot of backlash, because everybody knows that she is not particularly a nice person, much like Megan. Of course, this was all in her past and she's since apologised. But the first episode, you had Daniel Martin, you had Christina Tosi, and you had David Chang. Now, David Chang is a 2-star Michelin-starred chef. He's got a career spanning a couple of decades. And he, I believe, alongside Christina, were the founders of the Momofuku restaurants. And she also runs the Milk Bar. Now, you knew which way this was going to go from the offset, because Megan starts explaining to them what they're going to be doing. She starts talking to them about chicken eggs. And she tells them that her silkies have laid eggs. And she's like, do you know what a silkie is? And there was just a fraction there where I think they both knew exactly what a silky hen was, and they both went, no, no. So Megan shows them. She then proceeds to explain to them, like they're children, that they're not as small as quail eggs, but they're not as big as normal eggs. And I'm thinking to myself, they're both chefs with a long, long career, successful career behind them. I think they've come across silky chicken eggs. The fact that America, I looked it up, guys, you guys have had silky chickens as registered pets or livestock in America since 1874. So I'm pretty certain that people are well aware of what a silky chicken is. But of course, Megan needed to explain it like she does throughout. Like everybody watching the show is 5 years old. And to be honest with you, towards the end of the show, I felt like I possibly will need to be comforted like a 5-year-old child. I felt myself getting grisly, okay? I felt myself getting grisly when I kept looking at it thinking, I got another 4 episodes, 5 episodes, 6 episodes to go. I near enough turned into one of those crying TikTok stars. But no, I've decided I cannot continue, but I will continue with telling you what happened in the first 3 episodes, so you do get a slight review. In this episode, Megan teaches the viewer about water marbling. Her first attempt didn't go great, so we pretended that that didn't happen, and then her following attempts actually did look good. She was clearly given guidance off of the camera because all of a sudden she starts doing the swirly things and making it look like a pro. So it's clear that Megan has a lot of people running round to make sure that she pulls off everything that she's trying to achieve successfully. I want to see the stuff that didn't make it into the episodes because that would be entertaining. I want to see the shit she burnt, the shit she broke. I want to see the things that just ended up a complete and utter disaster because that would have been real and authentic. But hey, this is Meghan Markle and she does not do authentic. Then we were off for Megan excitedly teaching flower arranging. Again, this seems to be a signature craft of hers. All 4 of them set about to make their creations. And when Daniel's little flower arrangement that he did, which did look actually rather lovely, when he got praise for it, you can see Megan's mask slip. She did not like it. She even said, oh, that's beautiful, as she walked away, not even looking at his designs. In fact, there were a couple of moments where Daniel in this episode interrupted Megan. He spoke. David Chang was speaking to Daniel, and then Megan tried to talk, and then he obviously just led with Daniel's conversation. Oh, I reckon there was some issues behind the scenes because there was another bit where they started making graham crackers for s'mores from scratch. Megan had naturally come out with 3 glass jars of homemade chocolate that she'd made the day before. Of course you did, love, of course. And then they made the marshmallow and they made the s'mores with ingredients that most of us mere mortals, if we had to buy, we'd have to get a second mortgage. We'd have to remortgage our homes. But hey, this is Megan and this isn't about entertaining for the likes of you and me. This is what rich people do, and rich people would hire chefs to put on the entertaining. Because you did see that they did all come together to make this glorious meal at one point, and it was running chaotically, like when it's in a restaurant and it's just everybody's doing everything. So you couldn't follow a recipe, you couldn't follow a conversation. They were all entertaining, talking amongst themselves. Well, with the exception of Megan. She was annoying when she kept butting in, trying to do little stories about herself. I was like, shh, shh. Let everybody else talk. And everybody seemed to really like Daniel. And there was a moment where they were making these s'mores and he wanted peanut butter in his s'mores. So Christina's explaining it to him. And you can see Megan, she gives him that look that we have seen before. Do you remember that moment when Doria tried to speak and Megan shot her the death stare? Yes, Megan does not like it when anybody else is the center of attention. Now, Megan, of course, for preparation of this meal, takes David into the garden for them to get a harvest. And Megan, again, acts like it's her garden. Obviously, everybody knows this house was hired. Megan doesn't know her way around the garden, really, but she's telling David Chang what things to cut, even though that he's going to cook the meal. But this is Megan. She's a little bit of a control freak. Now, of course, the episode ended where you would expect it to end, and that was everybody praising Meghan as they sat round a little fire at the end for her wonderful generosity and her hospitality as they tried to eat the giant schmores that they had made. Now, episode 2, this is the one with Chrissy, so I'll keep this short and sweet because, to be honest with you, I near enough skipped it as I was watching these two giggling away, knowing how much that they have bullied other people. It's one of those moments where they're like, ah! And you're just thinking, you're nasty people. Everybody knows that deep down you're actually really, really nasty underneath that facade. But anyway, Meghan starts off the episode with a me segment. We have to have these at least twice throughout. So Meghan is talking about how she is going to prepare some lovely bits for Chrissy to do during the day. And if you notice in every shot, her shirt collar is getting higher and higher. Even her shirt wanted to leave the building because it was that boring. So what delights is Meghan making? Well, she's going to make the starter for some sourdough bread. Now, this is filmed, of course, over 6 days for Meghan to make it the right consistency before Chrissy's arrival, and she has about 7 or 8 outfit changes. Meghan in this episode probably blew through half of the Netflix budget that they had a clothing allowance for her. No wonder they've decided that they're not actually signing up to the same sort of contract. But yeah, it was like 7 or 8 outfits. I think it was 9 or 10 outfits by the end of this one episode with Chrissy. With Chrissy's impending arrival, Meghan goes on to make Thai tea, that ice stuff. I don't like it. It's got like, to me, that bobo tea, I think it is. It's got the little squishy things in the bottom. It reminds me of fish eggs. And once I've got that in my head, I'm like, nope, that is not going past my lips. But what does come out of Meghan's lips is another moment where she forgets things that she's told everybody, even on the previous show. Because she says that, she loves these teas. She used to go to a special place in California, no, Los Angeles, when she was a teenager because it was so decadent. It was like a dessert and she used to love buying them. Where's the orphan Annie, Meghan? The stories that we had where her only treat was a $4.99 salad at the Sizzler. Meghan that had to get a job working in a yogurt shop, wasn't it? Humphrey Yogurt, the store when she was 13 years old to make ends meet. Again, all stories that we know from her father was untrue. She had a very, very privileged upbringing. But Meghan has forgotten already. She was telling one chef in the previous episode that she grew up on TV dinners and she didn't have access to fresh vegetables, yet we're expected to believe that she used to drink these decadent iced teas as a teenager. That's the real Meghan. She's just forgotten how many lies she has told. Now again, Meghan does something icky here, and I'm not trying to pick on her for the sake of picking on her, but I'm disgusted by anybody that does this on a cooking show. The rings! The rings. I did basic home cooking when I was a kid. My mum taught me how to make basic things. Always take your rings off, especially if you're cooking for other people. Maybe I wouldn't if I was doing it for myself, but it's still kind of gross because the amount of bacteria that hides under these. It doesn't matter if she's wearing £1 million worth of jewelry. The germs are not going to care if that is a real diamond or not. They just want to fester in there, and I find it so gross with them touching salad and kneading things and getting their hands in there with jewelry on. So shame on anybody that did it. It's not just Meghan. It's gross. So with Chrissy now here, they decide to saunter into the garden where Meghan yet again talks about the garden like it's her garden, and they are picking flowers. I know, shocker, they're either arranging flowers or she's sprinkling dead flowers on. This time they're making flower jewelry. And do you know what flower Meghan picks to go inside one of her pieces? Forget-me-nots. Whose favourite flower is that? Oh yes, she just can't help herself, can she? So then we come on to the 3rd episode. This is the last one I managed to make it through. I mean, I was hanging on by a thread at this point, but I like Tan, her guest. He was on Queer Eye. They did the fashion show where 4 gay men, I think there was 4 of them, and they'd come in and then they'd make you look fabulous. They'd rip out your wardrobe, burn the stuff, and make you come out at the end of the show like a really good fashion reveal. Now, he's married and he's got 2 little boys, so Meghan does her segment that she wants to do something nice for his children. So she goes to the Godmother's bookstore. The 2 owners appeared in season 1. They're friends of Oprah's, and Meghan, she buys a selection selection of books to wrap. As she's wrapping them, the camera slow pans and you can see what books that she's got. She's got a copy of The Bench there. The poor children, they just didn't deserve that. She didn't buy that from the godmother's bookstore. She's got thousands of them in her garage alongside unsold copies of spare and no doubt her 40 by 40 merchandise. But anyway, she wraps that up. But she's also got another gift for the lovely Tan, and he was so excited to open it. I actually got a little bit emotional because you could tell it was an emotional present for him. And what Megan had given him was a vintage masala dabba, and this is basically like a little spice pot. And he said this is something that gets passed down families generationally, and I just thought that was really lovely. But Megan, of course, has got to do a story. Her story is she buys presents for people all the time, but she doesn't know who she's going to give them to until the moment just presents itself. So she was in North Carolina with her husband and she saw one of these and didn't know who it was going to end up with, but this moment just presented itself, the perfect opportunity. How bloody convenient. So again, it's this fakeness. She over eggs the pudding. She overdoes it every single time. But she and Tan were talking about their children, and every single time that Megan came in with her own, I was just like, it just doesn't sound genuine to me. For example, he was making French toast, which he makes for his children and his husband. His husband makes the bread. And again, I'm following along with this. Megan then chimes in with her anecdote to do with Lily. Lily, when Megan is making her pancakes, because Megan makes them breakfast all the time. Forget the previous stories that Megan doesn't have time to cook and the children have nannies. No. This is Megan is always cooking breakfast for her little darlings, and Lily, who is just turned four, insists on having chia seeds in hers because she likes her pancakes to have freckles. I'm sorry, I'm smelling, what's that? Bullshit. Again, none of the stories sound authentic when it comes to the kids. Even later on, they're making aprons for the children and they're cutting out little shapes and they're doing stamping. Now, this is something I did in play school and I could see where this could be something fun that you could honestly do with your children. So anyway, they're making these aprons and Tan starts talking about doing actually the activity with his children. And Megan said, oh, you know, would they have fun? And he's like, yes. He said, although my youngest would just try and eat everything because he's one. So all he does is put everything in his mouth. And Megan's like, really? Oh, how sweet. And then gets on with what she's doing. But it wasn't, to me, a genuine reaction from a mother. It's not the fact she looked away and couldn't seem more disinterested if she tried. It was more to do with the fact she's like, really? What mother wouldn't know that babies do that? I mean, I have not given birth and I've watched nieces and nephews and friends' children, even sitting on a train or on a bus and you see someone's baby grabbing at everything and shoving it in their mouths. I mean, it's a great way for babies to build up their immunity, but to act like, really? How much time did she spend with those children when they were babies? How much time have the nannies spent rearing those children? That for her, it seemed almost alien. And this is, again, the more Megan speaks about the children, the more people are like, do you know what? It just doesn't add up. Now, between them, they do make these lovely little apple pastries, which they then decide to take with some hot tea down to the beach. I mean, move over Daniel Martin. There's a new gay best friend in town. Daniel Martin got a toxic bath bomb. Tam gets a vintage spice pot. Daniel has to sit outside of the rented house. Megan takes Tan down to the beach where 2 chairs have already been lovingly arranged on the beach by obviously all of the Netflix crew. And they sit there at sunset. And when you think that it couldn't get any more beautiful and cheesy, Megan turns around and says in her giggly 15-year-old voice, oh, I'm having chai with the tea, chai with a pie. Oh, this point, I'm like, I can't, the lip starts wobbling. I can't do it. It reminded me of the Johnny Depp trial with Elaine, who was Amber Heard's lawyer. And she's desperately trying to turn it around at the end. And you just see her going, I'm trying. And guys, I was really trying. But I did soldier on. I got in that little bit further to episode 4 and I'll tell you the straw that broke the camel's back, all right? So Meghan starts off this episode where she says that she's actually in her own home. This is obviously a voiceover that was added in on a later date. And she's watching the hummingbirds and it's very sweet, and she starts collecting apples from her trees. And then she starts talking about she's going to make something to do with apples, and it was apple butter that her grandmother used to make. And then she talks about family and traditions. Now, when Samin comes in, they start talking about tradition and culture and how important it is passing recipes down the family line. And I started thinking to myself, she's taken her children away from every single family member apart from her mother Doria. The Raglans, the Markles, the whole of the Windsors, you name it, those children are completely isolated from all of their family. Now, it wasn't 12 minutes 25 at this point. I did come back to think I can do this, just push through it. But the final bit that cracked me was when she started telling Samin that she was going to do bookbinding with her because Meghan had a job teaching bookbinding, present wrapping. And I'm thinking, I've seen some of your present wrapping. It's nice, don't get me wrong, it's nice, but it's not professional and you certainly weren't teaching it. And calligraphy. Meghan Markle does not write in calligraphy. She writes in cursive and then she adds the lines on afterwards. I saw someone call it chicken scratches and I didn't get it until I saw a chicken scratching on the ground and I was like, oh yeah, I get it. It's disrespectful to the skills that it actually takes for a calligraphy artist to do their work. So I don't believe that she was teaching it either. Whilst it might look lovely on birthday cards and when she does her signature or, you know, wedding invitations, it's definitely not calligraphy. Everything about this show is entirely fake. Nothing is genuine. Even when it comes down to the cooking and the entertaining. Everything is pre-measured. Everything is pre-prepared. Every ingredient is already in a little perfect glass jar. Everything is chopped. It is washed. It has been picked from the garden. There's not a speck of food out of place. There is no sauce, not even a single drop on clothes. Nor is there anything ever spilt on the work surfaces. Every tiny detail was perfect. And for me, that's not cooking, that's not entertaining, that's not fun. Meghan clearly has a huge team of assistants running around and making sure every single thing that she does on that show is completely perfect. The show is complete fantasy, as are most of Meghan's little anecdotes. Yes, of course, she's telling you that you can create anything at any given moment that brings joy and magic into the world, as long as you have no money concerns, a team of staff doing absolutely everything for you, and you just stand there and smile. She's more artificial than a Stepford wife, and to be honest with you, I do understand why a lot of people, when Meghan talks, they're not sure if it's actually Meghan or is this a robot or is this AI? There is no warmth to this. There is no genuine laughs to this. Everything is staged, managed to the finest detail. This isn't entertainment, it is torture. But again, this is it. The whole thing with Meghan, even in the show, it's all about building up Meghan. It's all about bigging her up. And in a way, I've reached an impasse where I feel like talking about this show, am I inadvertently actually promoting her? I don't want to do that. My love is obviously with the royal family, and I think if it's something to do with a crossover to do with the royal family, then it's worth my time. But I don't think this is. Now, she has done an interview which I will watch, and I will talk about that because she has gone after the royal family again. She strangely appeared on the launch of Netflix doing this. So she's trying to direct people away from Netflix and onto YouTube, because this is with Bloomberg, and the interview is called Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, on life and business beyond the royal spotlight. I'm sorry, Meghan, you were part of the royal family for 5 minutes. It's 6 years later and she still can't help herself. She's still talking about the negative thing that she had to endure, the things that she went through. But I do think it is worth watching it in this instance, because I want to call out her lies and her bullshit. She and Harry have put out so much misinformation, disinformation, lies about the royal family, and that's where I think it's really important to stay on track. I love reporting on the real royals. It is a quiet time for them at the moment. I will do my best to find what I can. But I also think it is important to remind people of the terrible things that Harry and Meghan did to that family and why they should not be trusted, and why, more importantly, they do not deserve the titles and the attention that they receive, and I don't want to be part of it. So guys, that's it for me on this video. I'm sorry I couldn't do it any longer. I'm sure there's probably people out there that have got stronger nerves than me, but I was honestly at a point that I wanted to rip my eyeballs out and stuff them in my ears to make it stop. And obviously that won't be great for the channel if I did such a thing. Now on that lovely note, I'm going to go now and I will see you soon. Take care, bye.